Welcome back to PRI. This is Prep Recruiting Insider here at Moe's Pizza in West Wego, where Italians do it better. I'm your head coach for PRI, Rick Gailey, along with the I in PRI, Renee Nato, and we're joined once again by two terrific head coaches, Coach Tony Agresta of Northlake Christian and Coach Joe Chango of Country Day. And Joe, you've just finished your second year at Country Day as a head coach after a stint as the offensive coordinator at Jesuit. Talk about the progress of the Cajuns program.
I think we've come a long way. I think there was a lot of concern about us moving up to 2A when I first took the job a couple years ago, and I think our kids have really done a nice job of handling that challenge. We're still not where we want to be as far as competing with Riverside and St. Charles Catholic and teams like that in our district, but we feel like we've made some progress as far as understanding what it takes to win and making a commitment to the program overall, not just our players, but our coaches and our administration and our faculty and our whole school community really moving forward, trying to push our program forward. And I think everybody's jumped on and done a real good job of it. I've been real excited, been real supported by it, and I'm excited what our future holds there over the course of the next 5 or so years, however long they'll have me.
That's right. There's always that X factor,
right.
By the way. Let's go ahead and take a look now at Division III, and it's a division of which we are very familiar with the St. Charles Catholic Comets at 11-2 playing the Riverside Rebels, who are 11-1 today.
45 points a game for the Rebels. Jordan Loving talked about the great week he had, 247 yards. Jeremy Gibson, 3 touchdowns against Catholic New Iberia, and they beat a wing T offense last week. St. Charles Catholic, number 3, they're finding a way to win. They cause turnovers, but the offense has to step up. They won a game last week, Rick, as we all know, with special teams and defense. And Coach Monica's got to jumpstart that offense a little bit because they're going to be challenged this week against Riverside. Joe, your take, you're very familiar with these schools. It's going to be an interesting matchup, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of things that go into it that make it interesting. Aside from the fact of the quality of the two programs, they're both very well coached. I mean, as well coached football teams that exist in the state of Louisiana. They both have a bunch of great players, and it's a little bit of a rivalry. That's going to add into that too. I mean, there's that flavor of it. When I was at St. Charles years ago, I got to experience this rivalry firsthand and realize the kind of the intensity that goes into it. So not only does that rivalry have that intensity, but now playing it in the Dome for a state championship really cranks it up a little bit. So I think it's going to be a more competitive game than it was during the season. I think St. Charles has done nothing but get better at the latter part of the season. Riverside obviously looks right. They're hitting their stride. They're scoring. They're beating good teams. I mean, they have good players all over the place. It's really hard to find a weakness. We tried. And we were unsuccessful, but we tried to find weaknesses, and they're a good, sound, solid football team with good players, and I think they're real hard to beat. But I think St. Charles is going to give them the best run for their money than anybody in our division.
Tony, a familiarity between these two teams, does that help St. Charles Catholic at all?
Oh, there's no question. And the X factor for me is Frank Monica. I think that Frank calls me every 2 years at scheduling time, and he tells me, Coach, we're just not going to be very good this year. Would you please put us on the schedule? We're looking for a game. And, we both chuckle about it. But the bottom line is that Crowley team that they beat, we played them in the first round. Coach, you played them in the second round.
Yeah.
That's a good football team right there. That's a good football team. And for him to go there and get a victory, Coach Stubbs doing a great job at Riverside. And boy, are they explosive.
Yeah.
They can score points in a hurry. Let me say this, Coach, to you, if I can just throw this in real quick, Coach. We got that Riverside game with you on film last year, as we were prepping for a first-round playoff game with Riverside. And, Coach said he wants to take that next step and be able to play with those schools. He's doing that now. I mean, he's a little closer than he thinks he is or he wants to admit, but they're pretty close.
But when you're playing Riverside, you're not going upstream. You're going up a waterfall.
Yeah, right.
That makes it,
No doubt.
That makes it very, very, very difficult. And it is pretty unique. I mean, Joe, you played both of them in district, but both of you played Notre Dame this year in the first round and the second round. So you really have a good idea of how St. Charles ended up going there without scoring an offensive touchdown.
Amazing.
How many playoff games have you ever heard of that you win without an offer. They had a scoop and score, a block, a fake field goal, and a block punt to win the game.
No,
but that's Frank Monica because he takes charge of the special teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, he does an unbelievable job with special teams. We used to start practice there with first 20 minutes with special team individuals and things like that we did there. I mean, they take a lot of care and concern in what they do on special teams. You know, he could tell you offensively, whenever their plan is to win with defense and special teams. So I mean, they're winning the way they want to win. And like Coach said, you know, Frank does I mean, you don't stay in this business successful for a long period of time unless you know what the heck you're doing, and he does, and he gives them a chance every time they take the field. So.
And I coached with Frank at Tulane in 1982, back when we beat LSU, and that's the last. That's another thing. That'll be the last time that'll ever happen. Let's go to Division IV, and a dominant team, the Southern Lab Kittens at 10-1 against the undefeated Ascension Episcopal School from Lafayette. Renee, talk about this matchup.
Get your calculators out. Ascension Episcopal averaging 44, almost 45 points a game in the playoffs. Southern Lab, 50 points a game in the playoffs. The Kittens are led defensively by Chris Allen, who just committed to Alabama, 6'4", 235-pound linebacker. But they also rushed for 354 yards against Cedar Creek last week. Fullback, 6'2", 255-pound Shannon Foreman, and they got a pair of running backs that are good, Jarvis Thornton and Tyrion Davis. So they have a potent rushing attack. Tony, what do you see in this game? Anything jump out at you between these two?
Well, you know, is you're trying to make connections somewhere. We scrimmage Ascension Catholic every summer. You know, that's our first scrimmage, and I remember the first time I believe they played in the regular season because they're in the same district, I'm pretty sure, and it was a lopsided game. If you look at where they hooked up in the playoffs this year in the second round, that thing was close late, and they finally pulled away. So I think it'd be interesting to see, you know, what Ascension Episcopal is able to grab off of the adjustments that Ascension Catholic made in that second round playoff game.
Joe, high-scoring game teams here. What do you do? How do you approach this? Anything that jumps out to you?
Again, you got an experience factor, right? Southern Lab's a team who has done this before and has been in the dome, has had this experiences, who knows what it's like to get on the bus and go there for the picture day. And so that stuff is the easy stuff to deal with, and they can keep their focus more on the X's and O's and trying to win the football game. For Ascension Episcopal, this is a kind of a newer thing for them, although they've done a great job with their program over the last few years, right? And now they're going to have the big eyes. They have to worry about not having big eyes and just coaching the X's and O's. And I think that's the part, again, that you can get caught up in when you get into those big games. And, Coach, you know that stuff goes on all the time. So I think you got to give the edge to Southern Lab just because of that. But, you know, I think Ascension Episcopal is a good football team that, you know, gives Southern Lab a run for their money.
And they'll have big eyes at 10:30 in the morning, which is going to be a unique time to start a state championship football game. That is the select division schools. When we come back, we're going to talk about non-select and bring in Coach Reggie Rogers after this.